Consider these signs like difficulty staying focused on a worksheet or books, writing, travel shifting their gaze from one section of the paper to another, transitioning from near to far to near, eye fatigue. Whatever your vision is focused on is your body's going to focus on, your intention is going to focus on, and even the direction you go is going to focus on. When you're riding a bike or where you're driving, our vision tends to tell us mostly where we're going to turn even before our body starts turning. So vision is very powerful. While we focus our gaze and our eyes into, our body follows. Welcome everyone to RITP podcast. This is Kokeb McDonald, your host. I am a pediatric OT and the founder of RITP. In this episode, we are going to talk about something that comes up in therapy so much and in school a lot, that is attention challenges. Most therapists, most OTs, we get referred for self-regulation and attention challenges. And I wanted to talk about it today in a different way because there might be a chance that the root cause or some of the challenges might not be just attention or sensory behavior, but what if it's just visual? I'm not saying this is for everyone, for every child, but something to rule out. And what if we're just missing what we are looking at? What if it's not behavior? What if it's not vision, but it's visual? Something to think about. So, in this episode, we will explore a little bit of some of the researches that are coming up and can be a little bit alarming, but also eye-opening in a way, depending on how you look at it, is also encouraging because I always find it that when we find solution and answer, sometimes we might feel threatened by it or scared. But for me, I feel like finally it's a solution, right? The numbers might scare us, what people are finding out, but it can be a solution. And maybe helps us avoid a lot of unnecessary treatment that have even more devastating secondary symptoms or additional challenges just from the treatment. And then we might be able to help our clients way easier in the beginning. So this doesn't mean for everybody that everybody who has behavior, sensory issues, just go now do vision activities. That's not the point of this episode. So just hear me now. So I have to be careful sometimes in how we talk about it. This goes out to the public and not in a controlled area to our therapists inside our RETP. So when we're talking about this is some kids and some adults too, maybe it's not ADHD, maybe it's not ADD, maybe it's just vision, maybe we didn't treat that. That can be another encouraging thing to look into that we can target and get our therapists skilled, get our clinical skill better and sharper, and know what to do to help our clients. So let's start with this, okay? Sustained attention is not just about cognitive skill. So sustained attention includes physical skills. It includes our body. And when we are focusing, we're trying to focus with our whole body. So if aging somewhere else, our attention can go with it. So think about it when we're talking about attention and we're looking at a child in the classroom who's running around, we might look at the bigger picture or like bigger behavior instead seeing, okay, what got their attention first? Is it visual? Is it auditory? Is it vestibular? Is it their body? Is it tactile? All those kind of things we need to look into. So a child must have, or an adult, a stable body, head, eye positioning to maintain a good attention on a task. This requires postural control, requires balance, vestibular input, efficiency, and visual skills and tracking. So when we're looking at whole body listening and preschool, I see a lot of teachers teaching them listening with your body, with your hand, with your body. Is your body looking at me? Are your eyes looking at me? Are you listening? Ears are focusing on me. What about your hand? What it's doing? Because we're a sensory being, so any kind of sensory input can get our attention. So when you're thinking about attention as a whole body, physical focus, not just cognitive. So we cannot say pay attention, and more of the top bottom and frontal lobe approach is the entire body. Is the body like grounded enough to focus, or is it taking attention is being taken? So when we're working on attention, we need to look at the child holistically. And as you learn in screening, a holistic way of screening and looking at bottom up approach, which is reflex integration being part of it. Reminder that reflex integration is just one of the tools that we can use. It doesn't mean everything is reflex integration. Every skills and functional skills build on top of it, but definitely is one of the foundational skills that we're going to look into. So consider these signs like difficulty staying focused on a worksheet or books, writing, travel, shifting their gaze from one section of the paper to another, transitioning from near to far to near, eye fatigue. That's something you might look into. Easily distractible, that can be one thing. They easily like looking, the eyes are looking at somewhere else, and then that will take part of your attention. So whatever your vision is focused on is your body's going to focus on, your intention is going to focus on, and even the direction you go is going to focus on. When you're riding a bike or when we're driving, our vision tends to tell us mostly where we're going to turn even before our body starts turning. So vision is very powerful. While we focus our gaze and our eyes into, our body follows. So vision is very important. Um, that can be fatigue physically, but if they're not able to, communicate easily, it can be fatigue with the eye. It might be that they're visually overstimulated, not being able to maintain energy because they can't keep up with the eyes moving, because we have about six muscles around our eyes and they work in different ways. So they six on one eye, six on the other eye, and they have to work together evenly. Hopefully, they're working evenly and together in different directions for our eyes to do a lot of movements to help us be aware. So there is a fatigue that goes with it because there are muscles around our eyes that can fatigue us. Um, and then it can be other signs, can be avoidance of task. In addition to being distracted, it can be the child that you're working with not only not paying attention, but when it comes to certain tasks, that's the behavior goes up. So sometimes we tend to focus on the behavior and the action, not the cause. What are the tasks that the child is super into it, so focused, and what are the tasks they're avoiding? So it tends to be avoiding certain tasks with some kind of visual challenge they might have. It might include fine motor skills, which is the connection between hand and body. And in the other podcast, we talked about the different reflex pattern, one of them being the palmar grasp and even the Babkin, eye-hand coordination, how they work together, helping with the vision, and some avoidance that will happen because it's not now just vision. If one area is affected, it's affecting other areas of the brain-body connection. So most likely they have other issues too. So now they're avoiding other things. So that can be a, a problem that they're facing. So the retained primitive reflexes can create the kind of physical inability that undermines visual attention. So go listen to the other podcast that we talked about the different reflexes. I talked about the ATNR. When retained, it causes our a difficulty that we'll have of crossing the midline. That can be a challenge that a child will have. And the SCNR, if it's not integrated, it disrupts the near far focus, shifting and from a near activity to far activity or transitioning. That can be difficulty the child might have. The TLR can influence poor body posture, head control, balance. Balance is connected to vestibular as well as peripheral vision that it can influence near and far, like the TLR influences the front and back, and then it helps us with standing and balancing. And then when you stand, being able to look out. And we also have what's called the peripheral vision. That's the ability to look at the side like this. Like even though I'm looking straight up, I can still see other things here. Like this is called the peripheral vision. So um, when there are other reflex that influences that, let's say the foot reflexes too, which help with the grounding and feeling safety to be able to stand. The child might be more nearsighted and like more focused on the near instead of having the stability to look out. So you might see kids not aware of their situations and what's happening and only focus on what's happening near them. And then the minute they're scared, usually they get scared because they're not aware of their peripheral vision, spatial awareness, and a child passes them, something happens and it scares them. Of course, imagine if you don't realize that somebody comes next to you and you're not aware of it and you respond. That is a natural reflexive response, but calming that can be really hard. And then the anxiety, and it goes on, like it builds on one after another. There's so many things that can snowball because of that, but that's something you look into and you can see and the connection between the body and how the body perceives and the information and how it gives meaning to it. Okay, I've been touched. This is what the meaning that's going to perceive the sensory input. That can be part of the sensory integration piece of it and the perception piece of it. The brain have to put meaning to what's being seen. That's another visual skill, visual memory, recognition. What did we see? If somebody's coming straight at me, like full force running straight at me. My brain needs to tell me he's coming at you. You need to shift so you don't get hit. But if I don't have that visual recognition, memory, understanding, it can be a safety issue too. So there's so much more that goes with vision that we can give it credit to. And when we think of safety, attention, awareness, response, perception, don't forget vision because vision tends to be one area that we forget about, but we rely on like 90% or more for functional skills. So it's important for us to look into. These are some of the research that I found out, and we can link it below for you to look at. The College of Optometrists and Vision Development states that visual issues often mimic ADHD and are present in up to 25% of children labeled with attention issues. I'm reading here, according to recent study by the American Academy of Optometry, children with vision problems were 2 times more likely to develop HD than their peers with normal vision. Results from this large survey of 75,000 children suggested an increased risk of ADHD among children with vision problems that are not correctable with glasses or contact relative to other children with normal vision, i.e., the children with vision problems have a diagnosis such as color blindness, lazy eye, or amblyopia, strabismus, or convergence insufficiency. According to the research, children with vision problems should be monitored for signs and symptoms of ADHD so that this dual impairment of vision and attention can be best addressed. And this is something really important for us to look into. Like, sometimes it is possible that is it just vision or is it a dual thing happening with vision and ADHD? But to know that vision is highly tied into ADHD and ADHD-like attention symptoms is very important for us as the service providers to think about and to always screen. That's why part of our RITP screening involves vision all the time because that is some areas that we miss. Something I've learned, I say early on in my career, and then once I realized, I wish I could go back and be like, check for vision, and I could have gotten the goals met or improved the client's ability way faster because we could have treated that and we could have come up with a treatment plan that was a lot more effective. But part of being a therapist is skills develop in time. It's not something that unfortunately like you learn straight as in school and then you do everything else. Like skill takes time. For a therapist, skill takes time, takes a lot of training, and it takes a lot of specializing and learning more. So if you're a therapist who wants to learn more and want to dive deeper in, I welcome you to check out our website. You can go in there and then take one of the course on visual skills and primitive reflex development. You can check into that. But if you want to go even in depth and learn a more holistic way of uh, screening, creating a treatment plan, implementing, and get coaching along the way, check out our certification program. We really go in there, and I really believe in more holistic way of training our therapists. So we definitely welcome to do that. So I welcome you to do that. So, but this research really made me, it's just an eye-opening, something I've seen in my experience. Because usually when I see ADHD behaviors, attention, focus, we screen certain things, you almost see the same thing. We don't want to assume that each kid is going to give you the same result, because sometimes you might screen for reflexes, you might not see it. But then the case I talked about last episode is with a child who has like attention challenge, but not being able to focus. When we screen, we didn't see the reflexes um, present, but then in functional skill, we saw it. I was able to see it. But then when I stopped to screen the vision, it was totally not there. The child was having major problem. And that definitely makes me be aware a lot more to make sure that we're screening appropriately and not missing other areas developmentally when we screen motor skill, when we're screening for fine motor, gross motor, social skill. We need to screen for social interaction. We need to screen for cognition as well. But do not forget vision. Vision is something that we tend to miss. So make sure that you go really in depth and understand what it is. Okay, so this is very interesting for us to know as a therapist. I hope you learned something from it, to know that all this data is now showing and the connection between visual challenge, and specific visual challenge and attention challenge is coming together. More research is showing that. So in your session, if you're a service provider and you're screening, make sure you screen for that, and then collaborate with a specialist who can help the child if they need the support, additional support, in educating the parents and what to look for, as well as giving the resources for other teams what to do. Because the more activities that we do with these kids and then share our treatment plan with everybody in the team, like for instance, we have our RITP app, we give it to our service providers to share with their team, because we want to increase frequency in other areas. So we want the parents to do it, we want the teachers to do it, not just the therapist once a week intervention, but being able to share it with the team so we can increase that frequency to create that brain-body connection. So think about what kind of intervention you wanted to implement for the child that you're working with, and resources that you can have. The last thing is, a struggling visual system leads to avoidance of task, emotional outbursts during seated work, fatigue, frustration, giving up quickly, and consistent academic performance. This is why we need a whole child approach to attention, and why RITP includes vision and postural screening, functional skill, developmental milestone screening inside the program and the treatment planning. If you want to learn more, make sure you go down the show notes to get the information for you. Thank you so much for listening. I will definitely love to hear back from you. I wanted to hear back what kind of screening you're starting to do. If you've gotten anything from this episode, feel free to share in the comment below and connect with us. Until next time, keep playing with purpose and integrating through movement. Thank you so much for joining me. Talk to you next time. Bye.